Today is a very exciting one, and we're also very happy to see quite a lot of attendance to this webinar, because today we are going to present and release the first version of the completely refactored WorldCereal crop mapping system. So this webinar is going to take about an hour. We'll have some introduction first, some more technical details, then a demo, actually 2 demos. We also have an introduction on our reference data, and then finally some next features that we will be developing in the next version of the WorldCereal system. Please, your Q&A, there is a box for that. Don't feel free to put any kind of questions, feedback that you have in them. We'll try to monitor them during the webinar and address some of them at the end. If we cannot address all of them, then we will take that up later, obviously. So to dive into the agenda, I will first give you an introduction to the WorldCereal processing system. So not the full project once again, but really the processing system. After me, my colleague Jeroen Degeriks will guide you through 2 demo notebooks, which you can actually, at the end of the webinar at your own pace, also try yourself to generate default cropland products for any area and any time of interest, and also a custom crop type map demo where you will be training your own crop type algorithm, which immediately gets deployed in the cloud and produces a crop type map for you. Then it's up to the colleagues from IASA who will present the WorldCereal reference data module. There will be first a bit of an introduction and then also a demo on how to interact with the RDM, both through the website and through an API. I should say that also the colleagues from Wageningen are in the panel today. So if there is more in-depth questions on the reference data itself, also feel free to ask them in the Q&A so that our colleagues can tackle these questions as well. And then I will end with some upcoming features and conclusions, and then we go into the Q&A, and then you're obviously also free to try out the system yourself. So, introduction to the WorldCereal processing system. To kickstart this, we are in the second phase of WorldCereal, so another 3 years of the project, and really it's important to keep stressing that we are moving from a scientific and technical feasibility study to really an operational and flexible crop mapping service. So in phase 1, that was all about creating the first global crop type, seasonal crop type maps, which is the WorldCereal global map that many of you probably know by now. Now we're taking it one step further, even though we will be producing new global maps in the next few years of the project. It's now really first about creating a new system which is generic, that allows you to map your own crops and is really centered around being user-friendly and cloud-based, so that with minimal intervention, you can actually create your own crop maps. So to take a step back, which is also something that I like to do, how do we map crops from space? That starts usually by field data collection. Once we have field data, then we can train algorithms which use Earth observation data and learn how to identify crop types based on the field data. And once the algorithm is trained, then a model can get deployed into production and produce, during inference time, a crop type map. The problem is that at the start, that very first part usually still remains one of the largest challenges. We still lack a great amount of labeled samples on crop type data. And because we don't have enough training data, it really keeps being a challenge which drives the community forward to really learn how to tackle with this to produce crop type algorithms that actually work. So how do we tackle this challenge in WorldCereal? We've been working very hard since phase 1 already on opening up as much as reference data that we could collect, which was already somewhere out there that any one of you might have contributed to our reference database or some data that we found ourselves. We harmonized everything. We put everything in a reference data repository, which is now opened up and accessible to you. All the data that is in there is being used for the WorldCereal algorithms, but obviously can also live a life on its own and can help you in your own tasks to map crops or land cover as well. There's going to be a dedicated presentation on the RDM itself, so I'm not going to dive too much into detail on this, but we had some very exciting innovations that were added recently, which will make the RDM even more useful and now really ready for you to take up into your analysis. The second way how we try to address the lack of labeled samples is that now in phase 2, WorldCereal builds upon Presto. And Presto is a transformer-based model that works on multi-sensor pixel time series and in a self-supervised way has learned a huge amount of information already from millions of unlabeled data points before having seen any kind of label so far. And so what Presto learns is to represent multimodal input time series as just one highly informative embeddings vector with a size of 128. This model is developed by our colleagues from NASA Harvest. And with this model, you can actually train any kind of a downstream EO-based model, which then needs much less labels and also can lead to much higher generalizability. So by onboarding this Presto algorithm in WorldCereal, we are actually able to cope now also much better with the limited amount of training samples that are inherent to any crop mapping task. So Presto is our feature extraction method now. It used to be a expert feature computation, just temporal metrics that we compute on input time series. This is now replaced by the Presto algorithm. So we did quite some experiments to actually find out whether this is also true in reality. And so we compared both spatially and temporally if Presto actually also outperforms our phase 1 baseline, which is the algorithm that we use to produce the phase 1 global WorldCereal map. We saw both spatially as well as temporally that with Presto, we had a much higher generalizability, which led us also to decide to onboard this now as the default feature extraction method. So we get all the raw input time series from Earth observation data, Sentinel-1, Sentinel-2, but also Meteo and ancillary information. All of that gets summarized into 128 feature vector by Presto, and we then train our downstream CatBoost models to either produce a cropland map or a crop type map. Of course, there is always in crop type mapping the challenge on coping with seasonality. So we had to work with the Presto team on adaptations of Presto on how to make sure that we can actually detect crop types in the seasons of interest. And so what we added in Presto is the ability to tell the model where to look for our crop of interest. And so basically from the same amount of information that we feed to Presto, which is 1 year of data, we are able to take out 3 kinds of information streams. So in the basic sense, when we create a cropland map, the annual temporary crops, we feed the entire year to Presto and without any information on where we are looking. We just want to know if there are crop dynamics happening within that year. However, if we want to map a crop in this situation where there's actually 2 seasons in a year, then we can tell Presto where to focus its attention so that in the first example, the crop type first season, our information that we get from the model is really centralized over that first season so that our downstream crop type model recognizes the crop correctly as coming from the first season, while in the second example, we focus the attention of Presto to the second part of the time series. And we get totally different kind of information stream, which is relevant for the second crop season. And this is how, with the same information stream, we are able to detect multiple seasons in Presto. With that as the backbone, we built this system, which is actually a super nice showcase of the collaboration between, on the one hand, NASA through the NASA Harvest and how they have been building Presto and have been improving it. And on the other hand, ESA that has been funding the WorldCereal project to really bring things into operation. And so we have been building a system that is now deployed on the Copernicus data space ecosystem that takes away the whole workflow from the user, translates it into the OpenEO processing language, which then is connecting to the official archives, Sentinel-1, Sentinel-2, Meteo, and so on. Takes care of the data loading, takes care of the pre-processing. We then use Presto to do the feature extraction, finally apply a model that does the classification, and then that entire workflow running in the cloud gives you the cropland or crop type map. That is the backbone. And of course, we really want this user friendliness. So today we are really bringing this operational crop type mapping to your fingertips. And in the most simple way, we just want you to be able, with a few lines of code, to provide a bounding box extent on the one hand, a temporal extent on the other hand. And just with one method, generate map, in this case, you would launch our default global cropland model, which is going to produce a cropland map for your region of interest and your time of interest. All that is needed to get started with that today is, of course, the WorldCereal code itself, which is on GitHub. It contains the system backbone. It contains the demo notebooks, which are going to be presented in a minute. On the other hand, you will need a CDSE account to actually run the jobs in the cloud and to get free processing credits to be able to do so without the need to pay for it. And optionally, you also should set up a Terrascope account if you don't want to install your own environment. If you just want to play with the notebooks without the need to install anything, then a Terrascope account will allow you to do so. And the Terrascope account also allows you to have an authorized interaction with the RDM if you want to upload your own private data or you want to get your own private data out of the RDM. Those 3 things, 2 to 3 things, are all that is needed today to train your own models and run processing jobs, or take the default models and run processing jobs. If we're talking about cloud-based processing, of course, that's not free. So on CDSE, that works with OpenEO processing credits at the moment. Every individual user gets monthly free credits, 10,000 processing credits. This is subject to change though, but at the moment it's 10,000 per month. 1 credit is 1 euro cent. If you run out of credits, additional ones can be purchased, and soon we will also be onboarded in the ESA network of resources so that you can also apply if you have a good case for processing funding by ESA to run your WorldCereal jobs. We did some benchmarking already, and obviously the larger your processing extent, the longer the job will take and the more credits it will cost. At the moment, we've put in this first phase a per job area limit of 2,500 square kilometers. If you want to process more, obviously you can chunk your jobs. If you want to do it all at once, then it's better to get in touch so that we can look for a tailored approach in this first phase. Okay, that's a bit the background. I think it's now time to hand it over to my colleague Jeroen, who will show you in more detail these 2 notebooks that you will be able to test out yourself. Jeroen, the floor is yours.
Thanks, Christoph. I hope you can hear me fine. So can you go to the next slide, please? So indeed, like Christoph nicely introduced, I will show you 2 use cases of the WorldCereal processing system. A first one will be how to generate a cropland extent map using our default WorldCereal cropland model, which is built into the system. And a second one, how to train a custom crop type model and apply it to your area of interest to generate a crop type map as the one shown on the right. Let me share my screen and dive into these notebooks immediately. So first of all, I want to avoid you being scared at the moment because I'm saying notebooks, but that doesn't mean that you will need to write actual Python code yourself. So everything is done for you. We have tried to provide you with an easy, user-friendly, and interactive system through these notebooks. So first of all, let's generate together a cropland map for an area of interest. In the notebook, you'll see also a lot of explanation, but I will just talk you through it. So here, for instance, like Christoph mentioned, you will need a Copernicus data space ecosystem account in order to proceed. But let's first of all dive into selecting your area of interest. So you will get this nice interactive window where you can just scroll to your area of interest. Let's go, for instance, to Cape Town now. You can switch on satellite imagery, so you can make sure that you actually select an area where there is at first sight some cropland there. And you can use this rectangular button here to actually draw your area of interest, and you immediately see the approximate size of that area. Let me first of all try to draw a huge area like this, what will happen is that you get automatically a error message saying that your processing extent is a bit too large. So please make sure that it's smaller. So let's draw just a new one. The widget just remembers the last one you drew. Like this, it informs you about the coordinates of your window and the extent. So that looks all fine. Then the next step is that you need to define the year of interest for generating your map. Instead of just taking a calendar year, we actually recommend you to look at the local growing seasons in your area of interest. This is because Presto always uses exactly 1 year of input data as input to the model, but to optimize model performance, it's best to make sure that the growing season you're interested in is nicely centered in the time period that you're selecting. So for instance, in this case, you see here, these are the two principal seasons, for instance, here in Europe. One going from September to August, that's the winter season, and then one, the summer season from April to September. In this case, it would be wisest to select your processing extent starting and stopping in September rather than in December, because December, that will cause your processing or your growing season to be cut up in half. Also, June is not a wise decision here, the red line, because that also will lead to your growing season not actually being captured by the inputs collected by the system. And actually, if you want to consult the local crop calendars for your area of interest, you can just run this retrieve WorldCereal seasons function, and that will nicely display the dominant growing seasons in your area of interest. And then based on that, you can make a wise choice. In this case, we might even want to take a processing period going from May till May for a given year. So let's run this next cell where you are able to then choose which processing period you want to run or you want to generate the map for. Let's follow my own advice and take from May 2020 till end of April 2021 as the period. Then what I'll just need to do is enter a short name for the model for the model run I will be doing. That's because all the model runs will be stored on this Terrascope platform, as you can see here on the left. I did some runs previously, and this is just to give a name to that run. So I will just enter South Africa as an example. And then you see where the results will be stored. And then the next cell will actually launch a processing job on OpenEO. So now, as Christophe already explained, it will take care of fetching the inputs, the EO data inputs, but also ancillary data sources, use Presto to compute classification features, and then run the default cropland model, in this case, on these features to generate the map. So the first time that you submit a job in OpenEO, you will be asked to authenticate using a link that will be shown here. In this case, I already authenticated before, so this is done automatically again. And here you will see that my job is now sent to the Copernicus Dataspace Ecosystem backend, where it will be processed. For an area that I just selected, I estimate that it would take roughly 20 minutes to complete, so we won't be waiting for that. I have already some results here from the previous run. So let's immediately go to visualization of the results. So we have some nice functionalities here that allow you to immediately show the result of your classification. We also recommend always to download all the maps that you generated through your local file system. You can then visualize them in QGIS. For instance, here is a map for Indonesia with the confidence as well. These are displayed separately. Then I want to take you immediately to crop type, training your own custom crop type model. So again, what you need to do here is select an area of interest. Let's go to Spain somewhere. Select this area. Then I consult again the crop calendars in my area of interest. It seems like October is a nice cutoff date to define my period of interest. So I will just select, for instance, November 2021 till October 22. Then I need to extract some training data in order to train my model. This image already provides you with an indication of where we currently have public reference data in the WorldCereal system available. So as you can see, Europe is nicely represented, but there are quite some holes still in this map. Please feel free to always share your data with us. Santosh will in a minute show how you can do this in the WorldCereal reference data module. We will also, as a consortium, keep on adding more data to this database, of course. Then what we do is we query our public database to see how many samples we can retrieve for this area of interest. It nicely already shows that this might take a while in case of many samples present in the database. It also here again shows that we have found in total 8 data sets matching our spatial extent. If no samples would be returned, then you can always increase this buffer, so the search window around your area of interest, to look for more samples. So here you get already an overview of how many samples were retrieved for each year. Then the next step is that we need to pick the crop types for which we actually want to train our model. And now in this widget, you can see all the crop types that are covered by this training data sample. So there are quite many of them. The idea is that you simply click all the ones that you want to include in your model. All the ones that are not checked here in this overview, they will be moved or merged into an other crop category. So let me just group all vegetables, for instance, in one. Don't consider the root tuber crops. And then here you can immediately see which classes you finally picked. So for these classes, the model will be trained. Then again, Presto classification features will be computed for all these training samples. I'm not going to repeat this here, but you can follow the progress right here. And then here, the actual model is trained based on the Presto features. You can track how the training is going. And after training, the model is immediately tested on an independent test set of samples. So samples that are kept separately from the training process, where you can immediately see for each class what the F1 score of the model is. What we then do is we deploy our model to the CDSE backend so that it can be reached by OpenAO to be applied on your area of interest. If you want to download your model for further use in the future, you can always click this download link here as well, so that you have your model locally stored as well. And then once again, we go through launching the actual generate map function. So again, your newly trained model is applied to your area and season of interest through OpenAO. Here we see that it took this particular job 26 minutes to complete. and I will immediately scroll down to the final result. So this was an example I did in Spain for these crop types here you see on the right, and we do get a nice idea of which crop types were present in the specific area of interest. Aside from this crop type classification, there are some other results that are typically generated in this process. So let me quickly zoom to this result. So first of all, you get a cropland extent map as part of the crop type processing. So you get an idea where cropland is located in your area of interest. You also get a probability of the winning class, so the probability of the prediction for each pixel. You can immediately see that, alongside the borders of the parcels, the model is not that confident in its predictions. And then you get this, sorry, that's the probability. You get this classified map with all the crop types of interest. And that is actually what I wanted to show you in this demo. Obviously, like I said, the current limitation is that we don't have that much crop type data in many regions around the world. So Santosh and Juan Carlos from the IASA team will now show you how the reference data module is operated and how you can actually contribute data to our initiative. Over to you, Juan Carlos.
Thank you, Jeroen. Share the screen for you can see here. All right, so we're going to talk a little bit about the reference data module. Is the way that we have for collecting samples on in situ and then using them for the model. And we have created this specific module for that. If you are familiar with the WorldCereal, you might have seen this in the past. And so I'll do a very short introduction, and then we'll go to a couple of demos by my colleague Santosh on how the data can be uploaded and used in the WorldCereal, as well as through a user interface or through an API. So essentially, the reference data module is harmonized data storage. That is, there has been lots of effort ongoing by Wageningen and by yourselves to do this harmonization and to put it in the words of the, let's say, the words of the legend of the WorldCereal. There is in the WorldCereal reference data module, you can find data that you can download as well as the metadata. You can do this through the UI or the API, and we'll see in a moment. This data and the metadata includes, for example, the license on which the data was shared, the citation for the original data and the original data set information, etc. Everybody can contribute new data sets. In fact, we encourage that very much, and we will see how this can be uploaded in a second. And the data sets that you can see already in the reference data module, which you can just see on this link on the right side, are public and have been harmonized and quality controlled. The data set, let's say the reference data module website looks a bit like this, where you would see where the public data sets are available, and you can query each data set and you can see the metadata available and so on. And we will show you this a bit more in a moment. And also through the API, you can access these public data sets without the credentials. You can download them. You can also download the samples that have been used by the model and train the models locally with the WorldCereal harmonized data sets. Essentially, we will show you this new feature that we have done for mapping better the type of data that is contributed to the WorldCereal. So it's an easy task for whoever wants to contribute data for the WorldCereal and to match it to your own data set, match the legends of the WorldCereal to your own data set. With that, I will pass it on to my colleague Santosh, and he will show us a demo on this.
Yeah. I hope everybody can see my screen. So reference data module, the software components of this reference data module contains two components mainly. One is the website and the other part is the APIs. In fact, the website also uses the APIs internally to fetch the data and show it into into your browser. So in reference data module, we have mainly two workflows. One is the explore workflow and the other is the contribute workflow. Explore workflow, I mean, you don't need any login to explore the reference data module. You will get to see all the publicly available data sets. Here in this view, you can see the global distribution of the datasets. If you click on any pin, you can see the extent of the dataset, the coverage of the dataset. And then if you want to see more details of the dataset, you can click on the links available on the pins. Here you can see more details on the datasets, like what is the temporal extent and what is the spatial extent. And also you can download the WorldCereal reference documents, which serves as a guidelines to how the dataset was harmonized. And also you can download the harmonized dataset itself. And how we have done the datasets, you can see I mean, you can download the PDFs for all the datasets here. And whenever you use the dataset, you need to you'll have the citation here, which you can use. Apart from that, we have a bit of statistics here to what the dataset contains, the land cover types and their count, and also the crop types and their count. And we have a bit of graphical representation to show for comparison purposes how the distribution is. We have two views here. One is the bar chart and one is the pie chart. So you can explore the datasets here. And also we have details on the original dataset provider also, and what license type the original dataset provider has shared the dataset, which we have harmonized and then put it in the website here. So this is about the exploration workflow. And also in the exploration workflow, we have this list view where you can type what the criteria which you want to filter the datasets, and then quickly filter them, and then get to the dataset which you are interested in, apart from the map view. Yeah, apart from that, you can also go to the dashboard and then do the contribution to the datasets here. For contributing the datasets, you need Terraform login. So first I will try to log in into the Terrascope. Here you can create your own Terrascope login using the register button here, or you can use the social logins using this workflow. I already have an account, so I will sign in using my account. So once you are logged in, your login name will be displayed here, and you are good to contribute the dataset. To contribute, you just have to click on this button, and then we ask certain data qualification questions because this is to avoid problems in the future workflows, right? So we need a data set which has spatial geometry, and also the coverage should be onwards from 2017. And also each sample, we require this observation time. At least if each sample doesn't have an observation time, we need at least when the sample was collected. So if your answer is yes for all of these, then you are good to contribute the dataset. In the second page, this is the guidelines page where you can download the legends of the WorldCereal and how the validity time is calculated, and legends for irrigation status, and what format we currently support, and also dataset naming documents. So this is just a guidelines step here. The next step is where you upload the dataset. Here I will try to upload the dataset for Namibia. Currently, there is a data gap in Namibia, so I have a test dataset there. So I'll try to upload it and then go to the map and show to you how the dataset looks. So I'm giving a title to the dataset which I'm uploading. Set ID is derived from, is derived from the different criteria. So those criteria are mentioned in this document. You can go through the document and then come up with a proper name for the dataset. And then you can upload your dataset here. We support geo packages, shape files, and GeoParquet files. So all these things, any of the things can be uploaded. We support all these formats. Once you submit the dataset, it goes through the different steps during the upload process. The first step is the attribute extraction. We extract all the attributes. This is required for automatic harmonization. So in the first step, we ask for the attribute which contains the crop labels in the original dataset. So in my dataset, the attribute name is crop name. And also we ask for the observation date, which attribute has the observation date. Optionally, you can override the observation date by manually selecting this checkbox. If you select this, you can manually enter the date here. Otherwise, if you already have an attribute, you can select that. And optionally, you can provide the irrigation status. So since my dataset doesn't have irrigation information, I'll just skip it. So once I submit it, then we extract all the attribute values of the dataset, and then we do the automatic mapping. So this is based on the OpenAI LLMs. So we extract all the source crop names and map it to the WorldCereal crop legends. So here you can see the AI model has mapped to the WorldCereal crop types. So in the previous phase, we had this CSV file which we had to download, and the user has to manually map it and then re-upload it back. That we have automated it here using OpenAI LLMs. But this is not the final mapping which you have to agree, but you can also go and change them. For example, pepper, I wanted to map it to bell pepper, but it is mapped to its parents class. So I can go and change it here. It shows all the available crop names here. So I will select bell pepper here, and the other crop names looks fine. But for winter wheat also, if I want to change, I can change it here. So I know that it was a fodder winter wheat, so I will select the fodder winter wheat here. So here in this view, you can use the mapping suggestions, or you can override them and then do your own mapping here for your original datasets to WorldCereal legends. So once you are satisfied with the mapping, then you can accept and submit them. Once you accept and submit, the dataset will be automatically harmonized and uploaded to the RDM as a community dataset. After the dataset is successfully uploaded, it will be available to the user as a only private dataset. No other users or consortium can yet use the dataset. Only you can use your own dataset with your login. So users need not worry that the dataset will be used by consortium. So now the dataset is uploaded successfully. You can go to the user dataset collection view here, and then see the details of the uploaded dataset. So these are the attributes which are present in my dataset earlier and which got harmonized. The original dataset and the harmonized datasets are available here as a backup files. You can download anytime and then have a look at them. And also the mapping which was done, right? So that is also available here, which you can use anytime and then have a look at them. So once you are uploaded the dataset, it will be available in this Explorer also as a private dataset. So you can see the red dot here, which I just now uploaded. This dataset will be available as a private dataset for the user until he decides to share to the consortium. To share to the consortium, you just have to click this button. Once you click, the share to consortium workflow will start, but this workflow is still under development. So we encourage users to send mail to this email ID. So to share your dataset. For that, if you just click on this button, it will put the dataset name and the license type using which you want to share. You can use this workflow to share your dataset. So this is about the contributing datasets to the RDM module. And we also have the APIs module, which you can use to retrieve the datasets through your Python code or any other application. So it is a REST-based API where we have Swagger documentation here and different steps how to access the public datasets, the features inside the public dataset, and also the private user datasets. We have a demo notebooks here as well to show how the API access works. So if I go to the demo notebook here we have different steps showcasing how you can access your public collections. Here, this notebook is self-explanatory. One thing which I want to explain here is the search feature. So you can specify the bounding box in the API. So this is my bounding box in the API. If you send a request with this bounding box, then you get all the datasets back, which are in green boxes, and the orange box is your bounding box. You get back all the collections which are there in the reference data module, all the public collections. And after you get the collection IDs, you can retrieve the features from the collections. So here it shows the features, how you can retrieve them. And then going back, you have another notebook which explains how you can access the private user datasets. So for this, you need to get tokens from Terrascope. So this notebook already has steps how to get the tokens, all those things, just that you need to put your username and password here. Once you put the username and password, then you will get the token, and using this token, you can get the user dataset like which you have uploaded. But if you are training a model, you would want to get all the public datasets, including your user datasets. So in that case, you can use this API to get the collection IDs, which are available, including your uploaded dataset. So yeah, this is about the demo of reference data module. So yeah, we encourage users to contribute as much as possible, as much as datasets as possible. So now I hand over to Juan back.
Thanks, Santos. Just because we're running a bit out of time, then I just want to mention the next steps that we have for the WorldCereal data module. Sorry, I just don't seem to be able to share here. Yeah, essentially just want to say that we are working on the next steps for making it much easier to share data, essentially creating this stack catalog for the data that we have and enhancing the filter and the search capability. We're of course proceeding with new data collection, and we're trying some in situ apps for do that, and also trying to do virtual data collection using some street level tools, as well as thinking through the sustainability of this reference data module and looking for potential options with other partners such as GEOs. That's it from my side. Go ahead, Christoph.
Thank you, Santosh and Juan. That was really inspiring. So we're indeed very excited to have you try it out and contribute data sets. So just to conclude on the official part here, We need to do just one slide with expectation management. I think some of the questions already hint to that as well. So your custom model that you can train, like Jeroen has shown, can really only be as good as the available training data. And that's something, I have one slide, no, 2 slides on that, with just the overview of what data that we have. This is really still a painful thing. So that's something that we as a community need to work on. Also, the current default cropland model is definitely not perfect yet. So we switched to the Presto. We are very amazed with what we can do now with our default cropland model, but we are really eager to look for feedback where it works, where it doesn't work, so that we can also have targeted improvements in regions that are not performing that well. Every job that you at the moment run, it runs end to end. So it really starts from connecting to the official Sentinel archive, does all the pre-processing, feature extraction, classification, and so on. So this takes time. So even for a very small region, you are easily going into like the 15-minute range for a job from submission all the way to the end. If you expand your area, it easily increases in time. So be a bit patient. This is a very sophisticated thing that runs in the backend. So yeah, you need to wait a bit. Also, if you close your notebook, we didn't go into detail, but we have documentation that leads to OpenAO documentation by itself. You can also monitor your jobs in the OpenAO dashboard. So even if your notebook closes, those jobs that were running, they will keep on running there. Large-scale processing at the moment requires a custom approach. So also that I already mentioned is something that you should take into account, that it's not something to immediately now start producing a continental or global map with yet. So as for that first point, yeah, just to make the case, so this is a bit of an extent of all the public land cover data sets that we have at the moment in the RDM. So our default model does use some restricted data sets. So we have more data that we could use to train the model, but that we cannot offer to you yet. So we hope that some of those data sets will get public soon, and that some other institutes or researchers will contribute their own data and make them public as well. For crop type, it's even a bit worse. In US, we have USDA CDL. In Europe, we have the parcel registrations, Lucas, so that's quite well covered. But yeah, for the rest, it's a quite depressing image at the moment. So the community really needs to work more on open data sets. So everywhere where there's a big blank spot here now, you cannot train this custom crop type algorithm from the notebook yet, because there's just no training data. What we are aiming gradually from early 2025 onward is that we will allow, there was a question on that, to include your own training data. So now, as presented already by Juan and Santosh, you are able to ingest your training data, automatically harmonize your training data in the RDM. In our next version, we will also allow you to pull that data, do the training data extractions, and merge that, augment that with the already existing training data, so to really get to a tailored crop type map that includes your data that you can even keep private. We don't encourage to keep it private, but we do allow that, obviously. The WorldCereal visualization and dissemination module also will get a decent upgrade, where codeless job launching will be implemented, so that even the notebook is not required anymore. We keep on upgrading Presto, fine-tuning Presto, upgrading the downstream model updates based on feedback that we did get and new training data that we can get our hands on. We will also start gradually adding default crop type models, which currently are not there yet for the WorldCereal focus crops. Also on the roadmap is the addition of hierarchical crop classification. So now it's a flat classifier that maps all your custom crops at once. We are planning to make that a hierarchical crop classification. Onboarding in the network of resources is also something that will happen actually fairly soon already. And then also on the longer term, there is the plan to have a standalone version of the system for dedicated users as well, so that you don't have to produce everything in the cloud. But of course, that comes with quite some additional burden on your local end. Okay, so everything that we presented today is released in GitHub as for the processing system. So this is the link to the WorldCereal classification repository. If you really want to start without installing any environment, you should look in the README to the 2 badges on Run Cropland demo and Run Crop Type demo on Terrascope. These will bring you immediately to the right notebooks that Jeroen has been showing. If you encounter anything, feedback, problems, get in touch through our forum. which is linked on the README. You can also use GitHub issues for bug reporting, which definitely at this stage is a possibility. And so with that, I think that was the official part. So I think we can open it up for the Q&A. I do think that we already have answered quite a few questions. So let's look here at, should actually stop sharing. Oops. And then go to the Q&A. There are a few questions that I saw pass by already and discussed here internally that we wanted to discuss live. So we'll just take a few minutes to address them. First one up here is that once you have drawn your AOI, if there is a way to get an estimate on the credits that would be needed. This is hard to tell up front, so we are keeping now track of credits and duration of jobs in function of extent, and this will only get more and more reliable the more jobs will be submitted. So I presented that figure during the first part, so that should give you an idea. It's also posted in the notebooks to give you a rough estimate, but it depends on many things, satellite data coverage and so on. So we hope that a better estimate is going to be possible soon as we have more information, and that maybe at some point we can also give you a pre-estimation before actually launching the job. But for now, given the amount of free credits that you get, there is definitely quite a few things that you can do already. I saw that there was a question on post-processing. Jeroen, do you want to, in 30 seconds, address that one?
Yeah, so the question was about, do we apply any post-processing after running our model? The answer is yes. By default, there is some spatial cleaning applied to the classification result. There are actually multiple options for post-processing already available, and in the notebooks, it is more explained better how these different options work and what the options actually are. So I would definitely recommend you to check out the different notebooks that we are making available.
Okay. Then there was which model is used in the downstream classification and why. So just as in phase one, we still use a CutBoost classifier. Why? Because that is just a very efficient, highly performant algorithm that still gives good results. Because we want to give you the possibility to train your own crop type models on top of the Presto embeddings that we extract already, we need that to be something lightweight that can run on a CPU. We didn't want to go with fine-tuning of Presto by the user because then you need GPU access and so on. So that's why the downstream part is fully CutBoost based, and that's why you can so easily train your own custom model. The last period for which you can generate crop maps, in principle, WorldCereal is an end of season product at the moment, or algorithm, even to the extent that if you now go to the date slider, you will see that we stop at the end of 2023. So 2024 is not in there because we need to ingest the composited meteo. But in principle, if you train your custom maps, then you can position your slider just the way you want and actually also stop already earlier in the season and train a custom model for that. It's just something at the moment that doesn't work in a live setting because we don't have all the inputs, especially the meteo at the moment, which is ingested live. So that's why for the time being in this first version, you can only process up till the end of 2023. I don't know. I think that we already discussed quite a few questions now in line, thanks to this large and very active panel team. So if not everything has been answered yet, then please feel free to still put your questions either on our forum to contact us if you want to. And then what we also still wanted to say is that in November, we have a next outreach event. So we will launch our first MOOC that will be fully oriented on what has been presented now already on reference data. So all the way from how you collect reference data all the way to the point where you would be using your own training data to train custom models. That's something that will be covered there. Okay, and as we are now at the 3-hour clock, I am very happy to give the formal closing to our technical officer, who hopefully is now no longer having audio issues. So Zolti, the floor is yours.
Please give a thumb up if you hear me.
I do.
Okay, great. Hello, everyone. So this is Zolti from ESA. We fund this project and we are super excited to be here. This is the second webinar, but something what you can actually really see that where we are now. And it has really an incredible session with all the insight, what happened, and we share it with you so far. Of course, more advancements are still coming, as our colleagues said here. But regardless, I really want to express my gratitude to all the speakers and all of you, the participants. The interest is really, really huge. The question and answer session, I think, could have gone for another half an hour or an hour. Here, I would want to say that we will try to answer all of these on our website. I think this we did before as well. So you might want to look up for more detailed answers on the WorldCereal website. Now, as to move forward, I really encourage you to explore the open processing system, and your feedback will be really crucial. So please look at the system, not only actually look at it, use the system and tell us crudely whatever you feel about it, because we have the resources, both financially and in terms of professionally, that we can work on any comments, notes, which would help the system to be better. So I'm really looking forward to the WorldCereal impact as a project and as a tool, and we will continue to innovate and collaborate. And please do not forget that hopefully we will be all over at LPS, Living Planet Symposium, in 2025 in Vienna. So come there and see us. Again, I think we all be there. And not to take much of your time, thanks again for the participation. Wish all the best, and hope to see you at the in real terms or in the next webinar soon enough. Thank you again, and thank you all.